everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of The Bright Side of Life. I am your host, Melissa Bright, and today we are talking to Steve Barton. Steve is an intuitive awareness and abundant mind coach, but he is also the author of a brand new book called The Father, the Son, and the Aha Moment. So before we go any further, let's go ahead and introduce Steve to the show. Steve, welcome to The Bright Side of Life. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great, and I'm grateful to be here with you, Melissa. And just got back from Florida for a month. And on the way back, we listened to 5 of your podcasts and enjoyed every one. And I'm excited to be
Awesome.
here.
Well, thank you. I'm glad you got to listen to some of them to check them out. Okay, so we have lots and lots to cover today. And a couple of things that we're going to talk about is we're going to talk about your story, and then we're going to talk about your book and the approach that you have. I don't want to say made up, but you have coined the term the game of 10, and we're going to talk about that.
Great.
And along with this approach, we're going to go over ways that people, listeners, can achieve an intuitive, aware, and abundant mindset. So we got lots to talk about. Um, can you tell me a little bit of your backstory and how you went from being in the flower industry to now being a coach? And can I ask you, because I kind of made up what kind of coach you were. So what do you call yourself? What kind of coach do you say you are?
I love what you said. So from now on, that's what I'm going to call myself.
Perfect. 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 All right. So tell me the story of how you went from flower industry to now being a coach.
Well, when I was 22 years old, I was working. I've always been, my family owned a flower business since I was probably 10. And I was always in the flower business. My grandparents had it. So I was always around it.
Mhm.
So it was just a given when we used to have to make corsage boxes. So we get 2 cents a box. So we'd always have money, $3 a week, and that was plenty to have. And so I
Yeah.
was always doing that. Then when I got my license, I was a delivery boy. And then I was designing when I remember going to the 4th grade, we had to do a project. So I did a floral arrangement in the 4th grade. And they were with plastic flowers, and those were the thing before silks came in. So I've seen a lot
Yeah.
in the business, and so I did that for 29 years full time. And when I was 22, I was. It's in the book, and I could never work with my father. It was just oil and water,
Right.
and so I was on my way to Europe to study floral design, and 2 days before I was leaving, I had no plans on coming back. 2 days before I was leaving, my father had a full-on stroke, and he was at a floral convention through FTD in Kansas City, Missouri.
Mhm.
And so at 22 years old, luckily I had my bachelor's degree in business, and so I was ready to do it. And so at 22 years old, I was running the business.
Amazing.
hmm And most of my staff were in their 40s and 50s, and and that was quite interesting to be their boss at 22 years old.
Yeah. And I'm sure they said the same too.
Yeah, it was yeah, they said things like, "I've been doing this since you were in diapers," and things like that.
Yeah, yeah. And but at the same time, like, you didn't necessarily ask for this. This was just kind of the way your life was unfolding. Your father now had a stroke. Like,
Mhm.
somebody had to step up to the plate. That wasn't
Exactly,
your fault.
exactly, and, it's something I always wanted to do. There was, even in the 4th grade, what do you wanna be when you grow up? Oh, florist. So,
Yeah.
it was never really, uh, a choice. It was just always what I wanted to do, and after 29 years of doing it, I left liking the business, not loving it, so it was time to leave.
Yeah. Yeah. So then how long ago did you leave the business, and how long have you been a mindset coach? Like, where did that transition come in?
We sold the business in just before the crash in 2007,
Okay.
which my father says, "How'd you know?" And I said, "Because I'm smart." And so and everything shut down for about 6 months. There were no people weren't spending money on flowers. Corporate
Yeah.
accounts all started just saying, "No more floral arrangements in the lobby," and Yeah, so it was a tough when we sold, it was a tough year for the new owners, and that worked
Right.
out perfectly because he was my general manager for 7 years, and, we were doing about $2 million in sales by the time I left, and he had left my general manager had left 7 years prior, had a fight with my father, left, bought a bought a shop down the street that was established, was doing a great job. He was my competition, and I
Yeah.
vowed to really build the business up and sell it, and that's what I did. And he called me up. We had a couple of buyers interested around the country, and he called me up from down the street and said, "Hey, would you ever consider selling to me?" I said, "Absolutely." And it was turnkey. He knew what he was doing, and I never had to go back.
Yeah. That's
And
awesome. So it sounds like it was a pretty smooth transition.
mhm. And I owned
Yeah.
the building. When we sold the business, I kept the building, so I had rental property coming in, and that was
Yeah.
great. So
Yeah. That's awesome. Okay, so you have a book that literally just released in January, is that
yeah,
correct?
January 27th.
Yeah. Okay, so very, very recent.
Mhm,
And talk to me about that story. What made you write that book,
mhm.
which is called The Father, the Son, and the Aha Moment? And I think it's like tools to happiness with your child, or
Tools to for on the path for happiness for your child.
yeah.
So,
Okay, that's it. So how did all of that, and I know some of this from the
mhm.
book. It, obviously talks about how you got to this point, but my listeners don't know. Um, so how did you get to the point of what inspired you to write this book?
Well, I got divorced in two about 7 years ago, and I was how old was I? 58 years old with a 13-year-old son, okay?
Yeah.
And so his mother was a very hands-on mother, and she was basically his parent and didn't really allow me any space to be his father, or if I was in the room with him, she was always, don't you have homework to do? Don't you have to do this? Don't you have to do that? So
Yeah.
I was really not prepared to be the a primary caregiver for my son.
Yeah.
And I got custody half 50-50. And so yeah, so we actually I lived with my sister for 3 months because I had no place to live. So I lived
Right.
with her for 3 months, and then coincidentally, a apartment opened up over the garage of my parents' house. So it was a one-bedroom apartment over the garage. I was came from a $2 million home on the water in Casco Bay, Maine. So it was a big, it was a 3,000 square foot home right on the water, and, going from there back to my family home living over the garage. The good thing was my son had a finished basement with a bedroom off it. So he had that.
Wow.
So we go from the apartment, open the door, go downstairs, and he has his dog too. We had a Labradoodle. And so Periwinkle would come over. And so it was, and then the grandparents were downstairs.
Yeah.
And luckily he got to know his grandparents, because he
Yeah.
never really would have uh, had this not happened.
Yeah. And how old was he 7 years ago?
He was 13.
Oh, that's right. That's right. That's right. Okay.
He was
Okay.
13 years old, and so we got to know each other in a way that I never would have
Yeah.
had I not got divorced.
Yeah.
So how the book got started, I always knew. In 2015, I got my certificate from the Gestalt International Study Center in Wellfleet, Massachusetts.
And what is that for people that don't know what that is?
That is it's based on Gestalt therapy, and it's a coaching program. I feel it's one of the best in the country. There's a few, but this is a really good one.
Yeah.
And so I did that, and I really loved it. And there's some stories that happen in the book. Mike, the coach that I was coaching me, uh, there were 5 of us. There were 10 people in the group, and
Mhm.
split up into 2 categories. So my coach had 5, and she was director of the Gestalt International Study Center for many years. She was head of AT&T World for human resources. She corrected me because I said that uh, she was head of AT&T Human Resources North America. She says, so I sent her the copy, that the part that she was in, and
Yeah.
she says, there's one little correction. She goes, I was head of the world. I said, of course you were. Yeah. So she ended up hiring me to coach her in one of the talents that I have.
What's that talent? You can't just not say what your talent is.
Well, sometimes people come from the other side to communicate through me to a loved one. So kind of like Teresa Caputo of the Long Island Medium. So I was we had 3 modulars, 5 days over an 8-month period.
Mhm.
And on the 5th night evening, we all went out to dinner because we all got along with each other. And Marianne Walk is her name. She's in the book.
Yeah.
And she gave me permission to tell everything. And I was doing some readings for other people, just, having
Yeah.
fun, with cocktails and out to dinner. And one of the students outed me in front of everyone. And I've only known these people for like 4.5 days.
Right.
And one of the person sitting next to me said, "Oh, Steve does readings." And I was talking to another woman across the table, and both of us, she knew the woman across the table, and her eyes got bugged out, and mine got bugged out, and I said, "Let's do it." And the next thing I know, I hear Marianne from across down the table, long table, and across the table, and she's from Arkansas, and she was about 64 at the time, and she goes, "Maybe he'll get my deceased husband." And I'd never done this impromptu before.
Right. Right.
And I know the rules. If I start thinking, I can't do it. So I have to just put myself, small s, aside and let it happen. And next thing I know, I go, "Who's Ralph?" And she slams her hand down and she goes, "That's my deceased husband." And he started just talking away, telling all the things that he wanted to share with her. And it was just loving. Love, 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 and new things that were going on in her life. And then he said to me, she said from across the table, "I've asked him to find me a man." And I go, or Ralph says, "I have. He looks just like Joe Garagiola." And in the book, it explains who Joe Garagiola used to be on the Today Show. He was a catcher from the Yankees or the Dodgers or something like that.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I said he looks like just like go. So everyone's going in between while I was doing this. I heard out of my ears the F word. What the F? What this? What's he doing? And blah blah blah. And and I just did my thing. And the next day, she gathered up. We all were leaving that day, and she said in front of the whole group, she said, "Steve, what you heard last night, what you witnessed last night, is a gift. It can't be taught." And what we can do for you, Steve, is to give you the framework from the Gestalt Institute to use in your coaching.
Yeah.
So that was the great praise, and getting we became instant friends, because
Right.
how can you not be?
Right. Exactly.
And the funniest part was after everyone started leaving, she comes up to me and goes, "Can you teach me to do what you do?" And I said, "Yes." And she goes, "Okay, I'm your coach. Look, finish the program. When you get your diploma, we'll talk." I said,
Yeah.
I didn't say a word about it until I think it was May. And as soon as I got my diploma and everyone was leaving to go home, I walked up to her and said, "You still interested?" She goes, "Yeah." And I said, "Let's talk." She goes, so we went out into the lobby and sat down, and she says, "What do you charge?" And I said, "Not enough." "How about if I give you $1,000 for 5 sessions?" I said, "That's perfect." And then I asked her, I said, "On a scale of 1 to 10, what is your intuition?" And she said, "I'm a solid 7." I said, "That's pretty high."
Yeah.
And she says, "Yeah, I'm pretty intuitive." I said, "Okay. So you want to be a 10?" She goes, yeah. And that is how it finalized. I had it in the process. The process of the game of 10 was starting,
Okay.
but solidified it. And she was one of my first coaching clients with the game of 10.
Yeah.
And her stories are in the book, and they are unbelievable.
Yes.
Unbelievable.
Yes. And I definitely remember her story, and then what happens, which we will not spoil that. So the book is based on, and please correct me if I'm wrong, on the premise of this game of 10.
It is. It's it's kind of a Trojan horse. And I worked with the author incubator, Angela Lauria. They're out of Washington, D.C. She was a ghostwriter. She'd been in the business for 25 years, and amazing company. And she helps new authors write a book. And so there's a month training on how to write a book and the mindset of writing a book. So a lot of coaching, a lot of uh, tools
Yeah.
to write a book, because if you've never written a book, uh, most people who start a book never finish.
Right.
And the statistics are 96% of the people in the world want to write a book, 3% do.
Right. Which is
So,
amazing, by the way.
well, thank you. And so when I first interviewed, well, I was taking a course, Miracle Minded Coaching, with Marianne Williamson. And that's how it started. I've been studying A Course in Miracles for close to 29 years now. And so I love, and I've listened to Marianne Williamson tapes and just really admire her work. She and Eckhart Tolle are probably my biggest. I'm a big fan of both of them in the way that they teach and articulate how we are as human beings.
Mm-hmm.
So Marianne was part of that, and then she was also part of during COVID. She took 2 years off because she wasn't traveling the world doing her lectures, and so she worked with the author incubator. So I called up. I saw on Facebook that they would write a book,
Yeah.
and I was interested. And Angela said, "You're in Miracle Minded Coaching too, and you want to write a book?" I said, "Yeah, but I finished all the homework in a month." And it was a 3 month course. She goes, I know. And she first said, "You're in a category on my desk of we don't know what to do with you. Nobody's ever written a book and done the coaching course at the same, or the coaching course at the same time.
Yeah.
And we don't know what to do with you." I said, "Well, that's been my life pretty much."
It's not a bad thing.
I've been in the category, we don't know what to do with Steve. He does all this shit, and we don't know what to do with him. And yeah, so I was pretty much used to that. She said, "But yeah, we'll take you on and we'll do it." And she goes, "What's the name of your book?" I said, "Well, it's going to be on the game of 10." And she goes, "Yeah, no one's going to buy that."
How did you respond to that?
I just did dead silence. I said, "Okay."
Did you believe her or did you know?
I just didn't, I just played with her. And I said, I didn't say a word. And she goes, "Don't you want to know why?" I said, "No, you just told me that no one's going to buy it." And so I just gave her some dead silence, and it was driving her crazy. She
Yeah.
goes, "Well, I'm going to tell you why." I said, "Good." She goes, "Nobody's going to buy that book because you're not Beyonce." Meaning, you're not famous. If Michelle Obama or Oprah Winfrey wrote The Game of 10, everyone would buy it. It'd be a New York Times bestseller. And she goes, "What else you got?" I said, "Well, my son and I are writing it together." She goes, "I love it. I can sell that." She goes, "I can sell that shit all day long." And
Right.
so it turned into a book on parenting. And that is the Trojan horse, because it's actually a book on mindset.
Yes, it is.
It's a book on mindset. And yeah, so the funny story was Marianne Williamson. We every Wednesday afternoon is incubated church from 4 o'clock. From 4 o'clock till 5 o'clock, Marianne would come on. And there's 20 of us. Okay, I was the only male in the group of 20 women. Okay, so she knew who I was,
Yeah.
and she asked me. She says, "Steve, how did you come about writing a book with your son?" And I said, good question. And so he's living about 25 minutes away from me.
Mm-hmm.
He and his mother are very um, COVID uh,
Mm. Yeah.
adverse.
Yeah.
Um, and so he was, I saw him very rarely. So if we did, it was 6 feet away with a mask. But every time he'd come over to the house, he was talking about the world, the economy. He's very smart. He's gifted
Mm-hmm.
intellectually, but
Well,
he's
look at you.
but thank you. And he was always complaining about, you know, our economic systems, our political systems, the global warming, and just it was just he'd go on and on and on and on and on. So the third time he came over, he was doing his diatribe, and uh,
What is he doing? What is that?
the diatribe just
What?
going a rant of a
Oh,
rant, a,
okay.
a continual rant.
Okay. Okay.
It just
I didn't
was
know
no,
that word. Now I do.
yeah, and so finally I just said, and I was telling Marianne Williamson this too, face to face, and I said, Spencer, what are you doing about this? And gave him the pregnant pause.
Yeah.
And Marianne slaps her hand down, like, what'd he say? And I and I said, Spencer, do something about it or shut the fuck up. Marianne goes, I love it. I love what you said. Because you hear all these people complain about this and that, and they're doing nothing about it.
Yeah.
So this is the reason that we wrote the book. I had something that I wanted to get out for 6 years. This would be the perfect time to do it, and to do it with my 19-year-old son.
Yeah. And was he on board in terms of what it was going to be around, like mindset and stuff? Because it sounds at this point, you guys were kind of maybe on opposite ends. You were very much like solutions. Let's find a solution, where he was just bitching about the problem, but maybe hadn't. I mean, also, like, who's going to sit there and maybe solve world economics and what? But you get what I'm saying. He was kind of just bitching about the problem without a solution. So, what did he say when you asked him to help write a book, and did you tell him what it was going to be about?
He was all excited about it. He loved the idea that he was going to be able to do something. We can get he knows the game of 10. We've been talking about this for 6 years, 7 years, and she knows it. And he was all on board. He didn't like the idea of it was going to be a father-son book. He didn't buy into it, and he says, "Why don't we just do the game of 10?" I said, "I'm not Beyonce."
That's why.
That's what. So he was fighting that tooth and nail, but he's okay with it now.
Yeah. And in my honest opinion, I was not expecting the book to be about what it was.
Mm-hmm.
I set aside a whole day to go and read your book. I laid in bed and put on meditation music, and I started reading it and reading it, and I was like, holy shit, this is so much deeper. Like, having to pause and take it in. And I loved it because it really truly makes you think. It really, really does. So I know people are probably like, what the hell is the game of 10? You guys have talked about this. What does that mean? So, Steve, can you explain in layman's terms what is the game of 10?
I think what's so good about it too is it is in layman's terms.
Yes.
It makes it everything you already know in a way that's never been said before. And the game of 10 is a different game than the game off 10 played. So there's two games that we're playing in life. And one is the game of 10, where everything is in alignment. Everyone is super groovy, great, and life is in flow, and everything happens, and all the miracles are happening in your life, and there's bluebirds around you, and Song of the South is playing. And then you have the game often played, which is uh, life is just crap, and just shitty things are happening all the time, and we attract this energy. So I would say 90% of the people are playing some sort of the game often played.
Yeah.
maybe 99%, and maybe 1% of the population is playing the game of 10
Yes.
consistently.
Yes.
And what I wanted to accomplish, and my son wanted to accomplish, is having more people have more days that everything is in alignment.
I just thought of a question. It's got to come back to me, and I don't know if it's going to. So hold please. Oh, how how did you yourself get to this game of 10? How did this happen overnight? Was this a work in progress? Was this what did that look like for you to be able to want to tell other people and help other people get to this place?
It was a process of lots of crappy things happening in my life. And it was also, I was listening to Eckhart Tolle tapes, and it's one of these things that when you hear the truth, it's like the book. You can read it over and over and over again and pick out something different that you didn't get.
Yeah.
And what I got was a whole synthesized version of what it is to be in alignment.
Yeah.
So tell me your question again.
How did you get to that process? How did you learn the process of Game of 10 yourself to then be able to help
It,
people achieve that also?
all right. So it was a long process, and it also was a quick process. Okay.
Of
But
course.
because a friend of mine who's a life coach said to me, Steve, when you wrote the Game of 10, was it a long process or just download it? And from source, I said, it was a download.
Yeah.
It's just like boom, boom,
Right.
there it is. All the tumblers and the came into alignment, and it was so simple, which it always is simple. The truth is always simple. And we have our conditioned mind or ego, which makes it complicated. And it's our veil, and it wants to be complicated, so you won't figure it out.
Yes. 100%. So, I really want to break this down even more. And I want to break it down because if listeners don't understand this, some
Mhm.
of the things that we're even saying now, because I am very, very new to all of this self awareness, alignment, being in flow. And people might be like, what in the hell are these people talking about? Like that, they are not speaking my language. So, alignment, can you explain what that means for people? Like what does that look like in one's life if they are in alignment?
All right. You call it, it's called hundreds of things in self-help. The zone. Okay, I'm in the zone. I'm in
Okay.
flow. Runner's high. Heightened state of awareness. What other some it's a state of when you're just euphoric, right? Having your first baby, having uh, just everything's going into every day. I was just thinking about this that you called. I've been looking for that. I found it, and it was free. It was things like that. So that's what alignment is. It's everything is happening for you and with you, and you're aligned in life, daily life, and it can be very simple. Course in Miracles says there's no degree of miracles. Everything is a miracle. There are no degrees of it. You have to see it.
I love that.
Mhm.
Okay. So now this is what I'm thinking. Steve, I love everything that you are saying right now, but bad shit has happened to me, okay? I've
Mhm.
lost both of my parents.
Mhm.
Um I just lost my dad last year. How can you tell me that there are miracles and how can I possibly be in a state of 10 when bad shit does happen to me and it has happened?
Mhm. You're always 10, and sometimes you don't know it.
Yes.
We're having our bathroom redone upstairs. So if you ever hear anything, and it's I'm telling the story because it's Jeremy, and we went to his birthday party about 8 months ago, and it was at a Japanese hibachi.
Yeah,
Okay,
steakhouse thing.
it was a steak,
Yeah.
and they had the flipping of the shrimp and the everything, and all that, and the squirting of the sake in the mouth, and
Yes.
yeah. So my girlfriend Liz was to my left, and Jeremy's mother was to my right, around the corner of the table,
Mhm.
and her name was Ginny, or is Ginny. And I remember that Jeremy's father just passed away, probably 5 months prior.
Mhm.
I'm talking to Ginny, just met her. And so Ginny's sitting there, and I said, "Didn't your husband just pass away?" And she goes, "Yeah." I said, "How you doing?" And she goes, I said, "Great, surprisingly great. You know, the way he died, he was walking down, he was 84 years old. He was walking down the stairs and just fell back on the stairs and died."
Mm.
She goes, "I'm just grateful that he passed away so quickly." And all of a sudden, I just said, "Was his name Bud?" She goes, "No, it's Bob." Huh. So I went back to my seat, just back to my place and going, "That's weird," because I'm usually right on. I
Yeah.
guess.
Yeah.
And so I gave it a minute and a half, and I get the bug. Okay, bugging. It feels like they're bugging me. I'm being bugged, and I go, "Why am I getting Bud? Who's Bud?" Because, "Oh, that's his brother." And I said, "Is Bud passed over?" "Oh yeah." I said, "They're right next to me, right behind me to my left." And Bud's got a Hawaiian shirt on, drinking a Bud, and they've come to the party. And his brother, Bob, was about a foot back from him to his left, just saying nothing, just there. But they came to the party. And this place is really chaotic and people are talking and everything, but they're right there. I
Yeah.
don't see them. I just know. I know what they're wearing. I know what they're doing. I know how their expressions in their face. I just know. It's not even thinking, you just know. So Bud is this loudmouth going, yeah. He's just life of the party. He was having a ball. And Bob was standing back and said, Bob was a teacher. Was he a high school teacher? She said, no, junior high. I said, math and science? She goes, yeah. I go, why? He's not saying any words. He goes, oh, yeah, Bud did all the talking. Okay. So Bud always did all the talking.
Yeah.
And I said, they wanted to talk about golf. And did they play golf together? Because Bud lived in Massachusetts and Bob lived in Maine.
Okay.
So Bud would come up to play golf. And the next thing I know, Bud goes with his beer in his hand, goes, yeah, we go to Larry Road Golf Course, 9 holes. And he'd roll his eyes. He was used to country club and all this. And it's a municipal kind of a small in South Portland, Maine. And
Yeah.
he's making fun of it. Oh, yeah, they used to play at Larry Road Golf Course all the time. So to answer your question about your mother passing,
Mhm.
you don't die. You live. You live. And in the book, I talk about 29 years ago, I had an out of body experience. And I've never felt more alive in my entire life. Never. To this day. It's the opposite of what you think it is. You live when you cross over.
How how is that possible? Like what explain that.
You don't have a body that restricts you. You don't have aches and pains and thoughts that are not real. You are in a state of awareness, you're in a state of bliss, unless you have bring with you all the stuff you have not let go of.
Oh geez.
Mhm. So my suggestion to the audience and us, and I'm constantly letting go of things, thoughts, feelings, and emotions that I'm holding on to. And yeah, I think that's what I don't know much about reincarnation. I don't know much about a lot of things, but I'm constantly inquisitive to find out. But I'm
Y-
feeling that people want to come back to do the work that they didn't do here, is my
Yeah.
impression. So
Yeah.
do the work here now, and you don't have to come back.
So you can just be on vacation.
Yeah, and you can have the best of both worlds. and you can have the best of both worlds here too. This can be heaven on earth, or it can be hell on earth. It
Yeah.
really can be. And good.
Do you think that it's a choice? Is there a Melissa, you could be really sad about losing your parents and not being like them not being here anymore, or you could heal and continue on with your life as best as you know it. I'm just trying to get over that hurdle because I know so many people
Mhm,
are probably like, life is freaking hard right now. So how
mhm,
can I even get to this place of 10 that I am grateful?
mhm.
Because that is a huge part of that, right?
Yes.
How can we even get to that when stuff really is happening? So is that a choice? I guess was my first question.
It is a choice, and you have to go through it, okay? You can't stop the grieving, you can't stop the pain, you can't stop the suffering, you can't stop it. You have to go through it,
Yeah.
okay? So
Okay.
I'm a big proponent of grieving. I'm a
Mhm.
big proponent of feeling it because it came you're either born with it or you've got trauma with it. You've had a death, you weren't ex did weren't ex we're trained in this society that death is bad. We
Yeah.
have we have funerals, we have embalming, we don't talk about it, we cry, we don't discuss it. We don't talk about it. They talk about in church about heaven. Christ
Right.
was Christ was telling everybody that you too can do this and much, much more. Oh no, you're Christ. We put you on a pedestal and you died for our sins, And I think Christ would probably, I'm not a secular, so
Yeah.
I think Christ looking at it going, rolling his eyes, going, you missed the point. That's trying to,
Right.
we worship the crucifix and not the resurrection. So it's about the
Mhm.
resurrection. And when we do cross over, it's a resurrection, okay?
Yeah.
That we're back to source.
Okay. How does one get to so the game of 10 is a lot about awareness.
Mhm.
A lot of people are often not in a state of awareness. They are very distracted by their phones, by TV, by how can we get to a state of awareness?
Well, the game of 10 is very simple. I can tell you the tenets, we call them.
Yes, let's do it.
Right. The first tenet is we can do it together, okay?
Okay.
I am 10,
I am 10.
and 10 is the highest state of awareness you can have, okay? You're
Okay.
connected to source, okay?
Okay.
Your all your thoughts have shut off. You were just in that state of flow. So I
Okay.
am 10.
I am 10.
I'm always right with the awareness I have,
I am always right with the awareness that I have.
which doesn't mean that you're always right, but with the awareness you have, you're right, right?
Yeah.
Third one is I do the best I can with the awareness I have.
I do the best I can with the awareness that I have.
Yep. It really lets you off the hook of guilt and shame. You're doing your best, okay? It just is.
Yeah.
And then we go into flow, which is I am enough.
I am enough.
I do enough,
I do enough.
and I have enough.
And I have enough.
And you and I have talked about this. Enough is the universal quantity. And people cannot be at one or at peace, inner peace, because they feel they don't have enough or they have too much.
Yeah.
Okay. So the universal time, which is an illusion, time, it's man-made. We use the solar system for time, and we adjust it in Greenwich every few
Yeah.
year. So we use the planets to tell time, which works. But the universal time is now. It's the present moment. And there's no other time other than now. And there's never been another time other than now. So people oftentimes playing the game often played are projecting future or dwelling on the past. The future will cause you anxiety, and dwelling on the past, you are in the guilt and shame mode.
And depression.
Well, whenever you have guilt and shame, you get off 10. And if you're grieving your mother on a scale, if you think about your mother on a scale of 1 to 10, how do you feel?
One to how do if I think about her, how do I feel?
You think about her and you're grieving, how do you feel on a scale of 1 to 10? And 10 is, I'm feeling happy, really blissful, and it's so wonderful. And
Yeah, I would say like a 6. It's been 10 years, so um it's been a while.
okay, so you said a 6.
Mhm.
And in between 6 and 10, there's a void, okay?
Mhm.
In Miracle Minded Coaching, Marianne Williamson called it the breach. I call it a gap, okay? There's a gap that's holding you back from being 10. And at some level, it's even depression. It can be when you have anxiety, you have depression.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of work to have that pressure. It's almost like you're taking a coffee, the coffee ground thing, coffee press.
Yes.
You're pressing it down. You're depressing, and you're disappointing yourself.
Okay.
So to get through that gap, you have to realize that there's guilt and shame there at some level. And someone says, that doesn't make any sense. I don't know. I don't feel guilty at all about that. Yes, you do, but you got to figure out what it is.
Yeah.
I should have said that to her. I wish I'd said that to her. I wish I'd done this. I wish I was better at this. All these things that go in your mind that are insane because you can't do it
Right.
unless you do it right now. And I promise you, she's probably listening.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you can do it now. And so I say that to your viewers or listeners that it's never too late to say what you have on your mind
Yeah.
because they're listening.
Right. I
And so,
love that.
thank you.
That's amazing. I if I could get my stupid throat under control. There's something very comforting like of this game of 10. Like there's only now. That's all there is right now.
It was only enough.
Yes, like it sounds so easy, but our ego like to complicate things.
Our ego is our mind-made self, as Eckhart Tolle calls it. We made it, okay?
Yeah.
There's no such thing as a healthy ego.
No.
No. And about 30 years ago after I had my out-of-body experience, I was just doing my search to figure out what is going on.
Mhm.
And I was in the flower business. I was at a wedding show, and next to me were a couple of husband and wife therapists. I thought, this is great that they're at a wedding show, a booth, and they're going to have couples be in therapy before they get married,
That's
right?
genius.
Isn't it?
Yes.
Because guess what? You're going to play out all your crap on your new spouse
Yeah.
and
Yes.
end up getting divorced.
Yeah.
So I said to him, and I was doing A Course in Miracles, which they talk about ego and spirit,
Mhm.
love and fear. Ego is based in fear. So you're always if you're playing the game often played, you're in fear-based programming. So I went up to the husband and said, describe the ego to me. He was a psychologist. Describe the ego to me in one sentence, because I think everything can be honed down, and I like honing things down. Because it's funny you asked me. He said, I did my doctorate on the ego, and I can put it in one sentence. He says, it hates you.
Mm. Okay.
It hates us. It's afraid of us. And the thing is, we made it. You made your ego. I made my ego. And it's done with free will. So
Yeah.
we have free will. In the book, I'd say we have free will, but it comes at a cost.
Right.
So it's really not free at all. You will pay the price when you choose free will.
Yeah. Explain, because I love that you said this, because you do talk about um love. And correct me if I'm wrong, but you say like everything is love. Like always practice. You say something about love. What do you say about it?
Well, I think my feeling is that people have all these delusions about what love is.
Mhm.
All right. The game often played, I'll love you if, I'll be happy when, conditions. Okay.
Yeah.
Love is unconditional. And you've heard unconditional love, and that's what it is. A Course in Miracles, I hope I can say this right. It's in the beginning of it, it says, that which is real cannot be threatened. That which is unreal does not exist. Herein lies the peace of God.
Yeah.
It totally starts one of his lectures with that quote. It's a premise of the whole Course in Miracles.
Right.
He says, if anyone understands this phrase that I just said, you can leave. Because it's diametrically opposite of what we think.
Right.
And what we think love is not what love is at all. Love is unconditional acceptance of what is.
That shit's hard.
It's harder not to do it. So what is hard is not doing it. What is easy is doing it.
I feel like I find so much relief in this. Like, just think of an argument that you could have with your spouse. Like, oh my God, they left the damn towel on the ground again. Well, you could bitch at them, you could yell at them, or you could show up and show compassion and be like, yeah, but I just left my whatever, my crafts all over the dining room table. So who am I to judge? Why don't you just come from a place of love and either pick it up for them or just remind them, but don't be so mean.
Disrespectful.
Yeah.
So respect, and we have so many words that we use in our language for love.
Yeah.
Okay. Respect is love.
Yeah.
Truth is love. Honesty is love. Compassion with love, with compassion, and oftentimes, if someone leaves something on the floor, what they're saying to you without saying it, I don't respect you. I don't love you. Okay.
Yeah.
And what you're doing is saying, pick up your damn shit.
Right.
Right.
Yep.
Without saying, when you do this, I feel disrespected.
Yeah.
And I know you don't mean to do this, but that's my shit. And I'm just saying I'm reacting to it. I'm gonna work on it. Will you just pick up your shit? You know, right?
That's totally what it is. Like, cause that's how I feel. I don't, it's not about the towel. It's about now you're telling me like, oh, maybe Melissa will get it, or like, and that is a sign of disrespect to me.
Which disrespect is another word for being unloving.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's important to train people, it's important to train yourself and to be aware of what triggers you
Yeah.
and to communicate that with your partner and just say, I know you don't mean this, but if you do, please let me know. Give
Yeah.
me another issue.
First.
We have another issue going on if you're doing it to be disrespectful.
Right. Right.
99.9% of the time, people aren't aware that they're being disrespectful towards another unless you tell them that this is triggers me
Yeah.
and it's work I'm working on, and still pick up your shit.
Yeah. Yes,
It's really
exactly.
that simple.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. So we've talked about a lot of stuff. One thing we haven't talked about, we've talked about awareness. I really want to talk about abundant mindset, which is having enough, being enough, we are enough. I really, really struggle with this a lot. not in materialistic things, is like I've always struggled with having enough money.
Mhm,
Like I'm always scared, like, oh my God, as soon as I make that, it's gonna be gone. And so I'm always in this scarcity energy. And
mhm,
I'm really trying to shed that because that is just what I'm going to attract.
mhm, exactly.
So how can people get into this abundant mindset so they can get abundance coming to them?
Stop saying those type of prayers. So if you look at the words that we say, I can't spend this. I'm not. It's the other shoe's gonna drop. I'm gonna
Yeah.
be with lack. You're actually saying a prayer. Okay.
Okay.
So if you look at the words and the thoughts that we have as prayers, what you think about, you bring about. What
Shit.
you talk about, you bring about. So really catching it, okay,
Mhm.
and letting it go. Okay. So in miracle minded letting go is forgiveness too.
Yes.
It's about forgiveness and how do people forgive? I can't forgive this. I can't forgive that. I remember being poor. So you're holding on to the past. And when you hold on to the past, you have guilt and shame around money. Okay.
Yep. Yep.
Too much money, not enough money. You feel bad for the poor. You hate the billionaires.
Right.
You hate on them. And so it's really about enough. And so we have to let go of those thought patterns that we've created or that were spoon fed to us by people that have taught us
Right.
to be frugal, to, you know,
Yeah.
make sure you have enough money put aside for a rainy day and all this retirement and all. So the key, and one thing I learned in miracle minded coaching is God is in the mind, is in our mind. God is in the mind of everyone,
Mhm.
and we are an idea in the mind of God. So it's all about being an idea. And abundant mindset is an idea in our minds that we always have enough. And then when we always have enough and we're in 10, then we can start manifesting. The law of attraction kicks in. The law of attraction kicks in at level one, where you're down out in the street in a cardboard box. And someone comes by and kicks you with a steel toed boot.
Yes.
The law of
That
attraction comes in at every single level.
yes, and that is so important to know for people when they talk about things, that no matter what level that you're practicing at, in terms of being at a 1, saying, "Oh my god, my life sucks. I'm so poor. Everything bad happens to me." That is what is going to
There you
happen.
go. Because you're manifesting, you're praying for it.
Yeah.
You're afraid of it, you attract that fear energy. I used to say, life's a shit sandwich and every day is another bite. You
Oh my gosh. Oh my
and
gosh.
there's a lot of people out there who think that,
Right.
and
Okay.
it comes about, and I
Yeah.
and I support them.
Yeah. Okay, so here's my question. I know not to talk about it in terms of money. I don't wanna say out loud like, "Oh, I can't spend this because I only have such and such money." But what if there is still something inside me that is talking about it?
Same thing.
Yeah. So how do I not I know that that's gonna happen, so how do I let go of
Okay,
my, like, money, let's quote unquote "money issues" of scarcity?
good question. You become aware of your feeling around it.
Okay.
So the first step is to bring your thoughts, feelings, and emotions around. We're going to talk about money,
Mhm.
around money for you.
Okay.
You won't talk about it, but you don't have to because you're feeling it.
Exactly.
And I think the feeling is more powerful than the thought, even. I don't know. They're probably all the same.
Yeah.
But if you have that feeling, the only way to change that feeling and thought and emotion around it is to bring it to awareness. Oh, okay. So you have this feeling. Say, oh, I have this feeling that scarcity of not enough money. What if? What if? What if? And so you have to bring it into awareness and you have to let it go. And one of the techniques I learned through Miracle Minded Coaching is you create this altar in your mind. Okay. You
Okay.
create this magnificent or simple, but it has to be a altar that you place that's connected to source. Okay.
Like
Whatever
an
you
alter ego?
no, you
No.
don't want an alter ego because another, another friend that hates you.
Yeah. Okay. So what is altar? What is
An
that?
altar is you go to a church, you go to a synagogue, you go to a mosque.
Okay.
There's
Okay.
a place that
Yes.
is the altar of God. Okay.
Okay.
When I
Okay.
say God, I don't mean it from a religious standpoint. Okay.
Mhm. Yep.
God is awareness. God is 10. God is Bambi. God is everyone. God is you. God is God, right?
Okay.
It's that I don't mean it as in a secular way.
Yeah.
So you create this altar in
Okay.
your mind. It can be golden, it can be pine, it can be, but it is an altar that you place things on.
Okay.
Because as Einstein says, you can't solve a problem at the level it was created.
Oh shit.
hmm So whenever we have a problem, it was created in the past, it's coming to the present, and you can't solve it at the level that we're at, being in problem mindset. Okay.
Yeah. Mhm.
So you have this thing, let's talk about yours, this fear around money, insecurity around money.
Mhm.
So shit, I feel this insecurity around money. I'm feeling it. I'm feeling butterflies. I'm feeling like I can't afford this and blah blah blah. What if I don't get this money coming back and blah blah blah. You have the
Yeah.
story going on.
Yeah.
So you take that story, you're aware of it, and you say, I'm letting this story, I'm putting it on the altar. So it can be altered.
Makes sense.
Mhm. That simple.
Okay.
You just have to keep going to the altar.
Yeah. Yeah. Where are you going? Oh, just the altar again.
Go to the altar. Things are going to be altered, and you let it go because your mind. What did we use? 5% of our mind,
Yeah.
of our brain. So let the 95% that is just waiting to be asked to take care of stuff. Okay,
Okay.
let
Yep.
it do it for you. You can't do it.
Okay.
In our little ego, 5% egoic mindset, you
Mhm.
can't do it. What it's going to do is hold on to it
Right.
until you truly let it go.
Yeah.
And that's what forgiveness is, letting go of the thought about blank. You fill in the blank.
Yeah.
Forgiveness, always let go of your thoughts. Thoughts are great. Thoughts are real if they're loving. Thoughts are not real if they're not. And definitely take the ones that are not loving to the altar.
Right.
So
Yeah.
that you can be in alignment. It is so simple. It's just not oftentimes easy,
Right.
but
Oh
do it.
my
And
gosh.
it's an exercise. It's a spiritual exercise.
Yep. What does your what does a day look like for you? Are you always practicing at a 10? Is it called practicing? Are you always being at a 10? Are you always at a 10?
I'm always at a 10 and I'm oftentimes don't realize it.
Really? And what do you mean by
Sometimes
that?
you cannot not be 10. It's
Oh yeah.
impossible. It'd be like saying, yeah, sometimes God's with me, sometimes he's not. Okay.
Okay.
So
Okay.
that is a mind, that is an appointed, we're appointed 10. Okay. From at birth and before. So we're always appointed 10 until we become disappointed by ourselves or by another person.
Okay.
And then we hold on to that grudge and grievance. Okay.
Mhm.
And complaints and grievances keep us away off 10.
Yes.
So be aware anytime you have a complaint. It can be a tiny one, it can be bring that complaint to the altar.
Yeah.
Oh, it's going to be a bad day. Look at the weather. It's going to be a bad day.
You're fucked. Tornado's coming.
Yeah, it is for you. It is for you. It's just a day.
Yeah.
So I'm always 10. Do I oftentimes, after driving back from Florida, I didn't feel 10 in my body.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, from Maine to Florida, I felt aches. And I took 3 aspirin today because I just was like, ah,
Right.
ache. So, but I always know I'm 10, always.
Yeah.
And
That's huge to remember.
you have to. And it is called remembering. Okay. And that's perfect. You said remember, because we are always whole.
Yeah.
And sometimes we forget that through free will. And we have to and a piece of us goes from 10 to 6 to
Right.
3, and we're not membered, we're dismembered.
Yeah.
So we have to remember.
I love that. Okay, so one of my questions now is, if we know that we're not operating at a 10 right now, like something happened, your boyfriend pissed you off, somebody cut you off, how do we because I'll judge myself for that. Melissa, you're not at a 10. And then I'll start like using that against myself and feeling bad for not being at a 10. So what do I do there? Um, what do I do there? What do we do there?
All right. So we're either sane or insane. And at 10, we're sane. Okay. So
Okay.
you might as well just admit I'm insane. And you can't fix yourself while you're insane. Okay.
Yeah.
Can't. It's like
Right.
you're going to do something crazy. People who are insane are mad. Okay. That's the
Hmm.
word mad is for a reason.
Right.
When you're mad, you're insane, and you're not going to do anyone any good, yourself or anyone else, by trying to fix things while you're insane,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
So the key is to give yourself a timeout and basically go into those. What are my thoughts, feelings, and emotions?
Okay.
And don't judge them. Just be aware of them.
Yeah.
Not the problem is not what you think it is. Okay.
Yep.
When your boyfriend pisses you off, it's not what you think it is.
Hmm.
He brought up something from the past that triggered you into a state of disappointment,
Right.
um, unloving, when
Yeah.
you were unloved, unappreciated, and he's your gift.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that was there. It's brought up. I'm going to feel it. I'm going to allow it. I'm going to recognize it, and I'm going to put it on the altar.
Yeah.
That's for you to let go of, because it's going to keep coming up and coming up and coming up until you get it.
Right. Yeah. It's so huge that you say that. I have came leaps and bounds in terms of being triggered by something that my boyfriend does. And now for a long time, I'm like, why am I feeling this? And 99.999% of the time, it has nothing to do with him and his action. And it's something to do with my past with my dad, how I was raised, or something. And now I can come from a place of, Melissa, you don't need to react that way, because this is because you're scared of fear, or you're fearful, disappointment, judgment. And it's very it's so good to know that. To know, like, why did I just fly off the hand? Oh, that makes sense. Okay. And it helps. He is now aware of it. He knows that half of my reactions are because of my past also. And he's like, this doesn't have anything to do with me. She'll just do her thing. Um I'm so happy that I'm aware of that now. Awareness is so, so powerful.
Let go of the things that you don't like and keep the things you do.
Yes.
If it's not loving, it's not real.
Yep.
And the universe works with you and for you, not against you. And if you feel as though it's working against you, life is working against you, then you are saying that prayer. Please work against me. Okay.
Yeah.
It will work with you. This is key too. We used our free will,
Hmm.
to get off 10. We have to be willing to have the awareness come back to us.
Yes.
And it happens in, usually it's, Marion Williamson said 3 days. 3 days was the resurrection. Christ
Okay.
died, 3 days, he rose. Say, oh, here I am. I'm back.
Right. Right.
So they
Okay.
say it can take time, but time is not in the level of 10, time is now. And
Right.
now will happen when it's enough. And you'll change when you've had enough. A lot of
Yeah.
times people only change when they've had enough. And that
Right.
enough is usually like, I'm 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 done.
Yeah.
I've had enough. And that's usually the only time that you hear enough used properly. When
Yeah.
you really learn that you can't do it by yourself on your own.
Hmm.
When you're on your own, you're separate. And we aren't separate. We're one mind. We're 7 billion people with one mind. Okay? I know it's mind blowing, but
People are going to not grasp that one.
it's if you look at the universe, we're less than a pinprick, right?
Yeah.
So it's the Earth is even.
Right.
So it is. We have this our ego has to really wants to control what we think our life and our planet and our solar system, and it wants to think that it is God.
Right.
It's not.
Right.
But we are, and we're part of it. And that's what we're one mind. Okay. We're one mind joined.
Yeah.
And we have all the stuff on the news, friends, family, who will say things that are contrary to that.
Mm-hmm. That's very true. We have covered a lot. What have we missed? Is there anything else that you want to make sure that you talk about besides your coaching stuff? We'll get there, but in terms of being at a 10 or awareness or your book, is there anything else that you want to add?
No, we didn't talk about the game often played, which is this the opposite of the game of 10.
Yeah.
Which is I'm not 10. Want to play that game?
Yep.
Right.
Well,
I'm not.
no, I don't want to, but we will for
We could
this.
just so explain that there's a
Yeah.
contrast,
Yeah.
and it's laughable, you know. Uh, what was it? A lot of times when I do coaching,
Hmm.
the biggest thing, I'm stuck. I don't know what's going to happen. Okay.
Yeah.
These people are just always like, I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what's going to happen in my family, my work, and blah blah blah.
Right.
And so this always gets a laugh. I said, when did you ever know what's going to happen? Never,
Never.
never. And so everyone, let's laugh. I go, okay, thank you.
Right. Right.
Nobody ever knows what's going to happen.
Nope.
So I think the game often played is the game often played. And I think it's important that we covered. You have to be aware that you're playing the game often played, whether it's an ache or pain,
Hmm.
a thought against somebody, a grievance against the weather. Uh, you
Right.
know, you can't fix it and you can't change it. You have to accept it.
Yeah.
So I don't know I think we covered a lot.
Yeah. We have, and it's been so super helpful to me. Um, because I am trying to really, really practice awareness. I mean, I have personally, and I don't know if you've seen on my Facebook, like there has been some crazy shit that I have manifested in the past where it's almost April, 4 months. I believed wholeheartedly in December that I was going to manifest somehow $5,000. I at that time had no job, nothing besides doing a little bit of like helping people with their podcast. Um, but it would be I would get that. I would get some people reaching out to me about podcasting, Instacart. There was a couple other ways of just it randomly happens, and we are always in a state of we have this one thing. The only thing in my life that could bring me money is this job. Like that's it. That's what I'm never going to have enough money. I only make $10 an hour. And the universe is so powerful and literally anything can happen. You have no idea what could happen to you and you could be rich as shit or have an extra and it's crazy. It is crazy. You were in the same group as me in the Be on TV boot camp, and I wrote on my paper that I was going to win that day, and I won that day. I wrote in my gratitude journal that I was going to win the $500, and I was the one that won that $500.
And you deserved it.
I couldn't freaking believe it. Well, I did. I had to believe it to make it happen. But it's like now I just got to keep staying there.
Right. And the good point. And I think one thing we didn't talk about are words we use. And in the book, I talk about words matter. And
Yeah.
I heard you say believe, and I
Yep.
heard you say try.
Yep.
Okay. And those are non-words that keep you stuck. So the main words that I listen to when I'm coaching is the lack words:
Hmm.
shoulda, woulda, coulda,
Yep.
should, would, could, need, I want. Okay. It
Yep.
means you don't have. So you have to be in that now, enough moment. And words are prayers. Sentences are prayers. They give you everything you want. So words, feelings, and emotions are prayers to giving you whatever you want or are asking for. So there's the lack category, which is need. I need this. I want that. Okay.
Yeah.
There's not enough. Okay. Don't
Yeah.
have enough. I'm not enough. I don't do enough. And then you have entitlement words that I deserve this. They should have said that to me. Okay.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
deserve to be loved. Why do they treat me like that? So entitlement is another uh,
Yeah.
game often played. And this is what's I forget the other one, but okay.
Or I don't deserve this. I didn't deserve this. Why did they do that to me? That coming from a place of lack of self-worth.
Exactly.
I don't deserve good. I don't deserve that. Like that's meant for somebody else. We
Right.
got to watch that.
Guilt.
Yeah.
Shouldn't have got that. Yeah. So it's really important to pay attention to the words we use and change them.
Mhm.
Right? Belief is you have to separate. I mean, I tell people about, you don't believe in stuff. I said, well, I go outdoors. Do I believe there's air out there? I kind
Yeah.
of, I kind of just kind of know. Or if I ever go into the lake or the ocean, I'm pretty sure it's wet. Do I believe? Do you believe the ocean's wet? Okay, the lake is wet.
Right.
You just know. And so I haven't figured out belief. You have to think. So whenever you think, you're in free will. So you have to separate from source to think, and you got
Okay.
to be aware that you're thinking. It's
Say that
okay.
one more. You have to
You have
be
to
aware that
be
you're
aware that
thinking.
you're thinking, and you're in free will mode.
Okay.
And be careful because you can go into free fall. Okay,
Yeah.
from 10 to 1. So the key is to be aware and be aware of your thoughts, or your thoughts will take over you, and you will become your thoughts.
Yes.
You become your thoughts, you'll become your feelings, you'll become your emotions, and you are not any of those three.
Okay. We got to go back to the believe one.
Hmm.
We can't believe things. Like how can if I say I believe that I'm going to be one of the top podcasters in mental health.
Hmm. Okay, let me put it this way. Would you rather believe it or know it?
Oh, know it for sure.
I
Okay.
think you answered your own question.
Okay.
You don't believe it. Does Oprah Winfrey believe that she's a great human being
She
for the
knows that
planet?
shit.
She just knows that shit. When she wakes up in the morning, she just knows, what am I going to do? What miracles am I going to do today?
Okay.
Okay.
So
So
that's where manifestation is going to happen is you just know it.
know it with a capital K.
Okay.
Know it.
Okay.
Like when I'm doing the channeling, I know it. I don't think it. I don't believe. I believe your husband's here with his brother. I
Yeah.
believe he's here. Didn't believe it. You know it. And
Okay.
you have to go through this inner mindset. It's knowing. Okay. And you're doing the best you can with the awareness you have. Your
Yes.
knowing could be off.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
It could
Yes.
be off. And if you're in 10, they're gonna say, well, no, this is not real. Well, this is the information I have. It may not be right. So you move through it quicker. Okay.
Yeah. And that's huge for people to know. That's where I'm really trying to practice compassion for people because we always think that Steve should know what I want or Steve should know because that's how I feel. And Steve is only operating at what his level of what he knows about whatever certain subject or whatever. So we can't be mad. Like we have to meet people where they are And I have a really hard time with that. I always why does this person not think like me? Why are they, especially my boyfriend? I just
Mhm.
expect him to be thinking everything I'm thinking at all times, and I'm like, "No, that's not the way this works."
Exactly.
It's so important to remember.
It's so important because he's doing the best he can with the awareness he has.
Yep.
So what that does, it lets him off the hook from being guilty. You should know that, saying you were the he shouldn't, because that's you're just throwing on your guilt onto him,
Yep.
and then he's going to come back at you typically with guilt.
Mhm.
You shouldn't say that to me, and blah blah blah. So you're going to do a should fest,
Yep.
You're shitting on each other,
Yep.
and it when you have they're doing the best they can with the awareness they have, it opens up communication.
Yes.
You just said this. Can you explain?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
There's a lot more that we can talk about too.
We could talk for hours.
Yeah, because you go into the man-woman mentality too,
Mhm.
and we think differently. As much as women think they can be men and men can be women, or whatever, we this is a good one, which I learned from Marianne Williamson. From her therapist told her, and it made sense. Men want to be asked what they think about something.
Okay.
Women want to be asked what they feel about something.
Yes.
Isn't that huge?
Yep.
So if a man tells you his feelings all the time, you want to kill him. Okay. You just want to freaking kill him because why don't you be a man?
Yeah. Yeah.
And a woman who is so linear in thoughts, why
Mhm.
don't you be a woman? The man will think, why don't you think too much. You're thinking about that. So it's got to flow. Okay.
Okay.
The energy has to flow. And if you got one negative and someone being the man, well, actually one's going to be the man, one's going to be the woman to have this energetic flow. It's masculine energy, feminine energy. It's
Right.
not man or woman, it's just energy.
Sure.
So it's important to have the balance that you want in a relationship. So we're talking about relationships now, but yeah, so you have to have that balance of this flow. Okay.
Okay.
And you can see some male, female, some female, female, male, male, that somebody's got to play the masculine role, somebody's got to play the feminine role, or the relationship's not going. It cancels each other out,
Yeah.
and that was huge to learn that.
Yeah. That's very interesting.
So,
Damn.
so what's your boyfriend's name?
What's my what?
Boyfriend's name?
Brandon.
Brandon. So ask him what he thinks about things.
Okay.
What do you think about this?
Does that make them like feel good?
Mm,
Okay.
makes him feel like the man.
Okay.
Okay. And then tell him, ask me how I feel about things, because that's
Okay.
going to make you feel like the woman.
Okay.
Okay. If that's what you want,
I love it.
because every relationship's different.
Simple.
It's, it takes practice, much
Yeah,
like
I know.
you're always 10. So as long as you know that, then, but oftentimes you don't feel it.
Right.
So the key is to feel it.
Yes.
Think it, feel it, know it, be it, and then it just happens automatically that you feel great.
I love it. I love it. I've taken down so many notes. Okay. So, for people that want to read your book, where can they find your book?
You can get it for free if you go to the game of 10 with a 10.com,
Okay.
and you'll get some trickle emails from me because there is a cost.
Of course.
Well, yes, for free. Nothing's free. Nothing in life is free,
No.
and especially our free will. So the game of 10 with the 10.com, and you can download the book for free, or you can get a paperback at Amazon books and do the game of, no, it's not, the Father, the Son, and the aha moment.
Perfect. And I will also link that in the show notes. I'll actually get that from you, Steve, the other one, if they want to do the free download. Um, and I'll have that in the show notes. And then if somebody would like to be coached by you,
Mhm.
how can they connect with you?
Well, in those emails that you'll get, if you download the book, you'll have a link to do a session. Actually, I would interview you for a half hour, see if I'm right for you and see if you're right for me.
Mm-hmm.
And that is at no charge. And also, if you do read the book, you can go to readersfavorite.com, and I would appreciate it if you left a review. That's readersfavorite.com. And if you buy it, you can leave a review on Amazon, and that's always helpful.
Yes, always helpful to get your book out there more to people.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. All right, Steve, you know the question I have for you.
I do.
What is my question?
It is, Steve, what is the bright side of life mean to you?
Yes. You answer it.
The bright side of life is 10.
Oh my gosh, I love it. It's perfect.
Mm-hmm.
That's perfect. I think that's the shortest answer I've ever had.
And it says so much, doesn't it?
Yep, it does. Well, thank you so much for coming on here to share all of your knowledge. This has been wonderful.
It's been a pleasure, and as usual, it's fun, easy. You do such a great job with your, make me feel so comfortable, and it was
Thank you.
great, and I appreciate it, and I hope your audience got what they wanted.
I'm sure they did. Awesome. Thank you. Thank you.